I had been a ghost in my own home for as long as I could remember. Not the haunting kind, more like the forgotten kind. I moved through the rooms without notice, the man who paid to keep the lights on but never truly belonged under that roof. I told myself that invisibility was safer. If they couldn't see me, maybe they couldn't hurt me. But that night shattered the illusion. It was Mark's engagement party, my cousin, the golden boy. The kind of man who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. The backyard was strung with warm fairy lights that swayed in the breeze. Platters of fried chicken and potato salad sat on tables draped in mismatched tablecloths. Someone had brought a portable speaker, and old rock music mingled with the smell of charcoal and beer. Laughter spilled out in bursts, the kind that comes from people who believe they are among their own. I stood near the drinks table, pouring refills and slipping in the occasional joke, pretending I was part of it. My sister, Claire, sat at the center of it all, showing everyone videos of her new kitten, a tiny gray puffball tumbling over shoelaces and chasing imaginary mice. People leaned in, cooing, their smiles genuine. For a fleeting moment, even I felt pulled into the warmth. Then my father stood up. The noise around us seemed to fade as he rose from his chair. His whiskey glass trembled slightly in his hand, but his eyes were steady, sharp and mean. He jabbed a finger at me, his voice booming over the music. "You've bled us dry, Daniel. You're nothing but dead weight." The air was sucked from the yard. Uncle James froze mid-sip, beer bottle hovering at his lips. Claire's smile faltered, though she said nothing. My mother's expression shifted into something worse than disgust, agreement. I didn't shout. I didn't plead. I smiled. A slow, defiant curve of my lips that said, "Watch me disappear." The chair scraped against the stone patio as I stood, the sound grating in the heavy silence. I walked past the tables, past the laughter that had turned brittle and false, toward the garage where I slept. It wasn't a bedroom. It wasn't even a proper space to live. It was a cramped corner with a cot shoved against the wall, a single flickering bulb overhead, and a window that rattled when the wind picked up. I'd been paying for this so-called room for 7 years, along with their phone bills, gas, groceries, and even their car insurance when Mom's budgeting fell apart. Claire lived here for free. She was the daughter who could do no wrong. I was the failure they never let forget. I pulled my old backpack from under the cot and started packing. Shirts. Socks. My tablet. The small safe with my passport, tax forms, and bank documents. My movements were steady, almost mechanical, like I'd rehearsed this 1,000 times in my mind without ever admitting it. The zipper cut through the silence with a sharp, final sound. When I stepped into the kitchen, Mom was at the back door, wine glass in hand, her eyes narrowed into slits. "Where do you think you're going, Daniel?" Her tone was icy, like my leaving was a personal insult. I didn't answer. I brushed past her. Out in the yard, Dad's rant had shifted to another audience, Mark, who stood stiffly, clearly wishing he could be anywhere else. My father's glare found me, daring me to fight. I didn't give him the satisfaction. The night air hit me like a jolt, cool, sharp, electric. My motorcycle was parked at the curb, half hidden under the drooping branches of the oak tree. I strapped my bag to the back, swung my leg over, and paused. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom, "Don't bother coming back." I typed back, "Good. I'm done paying your bills." Then I hit send. The call started before I'd even turned the key. I ignored them. The bike roared to life, swallowing their voices, their demands, their lies. I didn't have a map, just a need to get as far away as possible. The road stretched ahead. Lit by lonely street lamps and the occasional flicker of neon from closed strip malls. By the time I stopped, I was in the parking lot of a weathered motel off the highway, a place I'd bookmarked weeks earlier when the thought of leaving had first crept into my head. The manager, a wiry woman with a smoker's rasp, handed me a key. 15 minutes later, I was in a room with stained carpet, a creaking bed, and the faint scent of bleach. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The next morning, I woke to 71 missed calls. Dad. Mom. Claire. Even Uncle James, who never texted. The voicemails were venom disguised as desperation. You selfish brat. You owe us everything. If you don't come back, you'll regret it. One from Mom hit differently. We need the electricity paid by Friday. Your father's heart can't take this. I laughed, a hollow, ugly sound. Then Claire called. Her voice was hushed, urgent. They're tearing through your old files, Daniel. They want your social security number. Mom's not letting it go. My stomach clenched. Years ago, I'd trusted them with my documents. If they got into my accounts, they could take everything, open loans, rack up debt, destroy my credit. I didn't say it aloud, but the truth was clear. They weren't just angry I'd left, they were panicking about losing control. I changed every password. Bank. Email. Utilities. I froze my credit, set fraud alerts, and switched my mailing address to a rented locker across town. Still, the messages kept coming. We're close, Daniel. We'll track you down. Then came the photo, my motorcycle, parked right outside the motel. The image was shaky, taken from across the street, but clear enough to make my skin crawl. I scanned the road. That's when I saw it, a gray pickup idling across the way. I couldn't see the faces inside, but I didn't need to. I knew. I took off, weaving through alleys and side streets, but the pickup stayed behind me, a shadow that wouldn't shake. Finally, I pulled into a truck stop, PR. Pretending to refuel while watching in the reflection of the glass door. Dad was in the passenger seat, jaw tight, eyes locked on me. The driver was a stranger, stocky, shaved head, staring like I was prey. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire, that's Mitch. Mark's old friend. Dangerous. Stay away. My pulse spiked. I bought a coffee I didn't want just to buy time, then climbed back on the bike. This time, I didn't run blindly, I headed straight for the sheriff's office. The pickup slowed as I pulled into the lot, then sped off. I'd won a battle, but not the war. The next day, I met with Elena, a lawyer recommended by a friend. She listened without interrupting as I laid out everything, the years of payments, the threats, the tracking, the account breaches. You've got evidence, she said finally. If they try anything, you can protect yourself. Keep everything, texts, call logs, photos. The more, the better. That night, the gray pickup appeared again outside the motel. Dad pounded on the door, his voice a mix of rage and desperation. Mom's sobs were loud, theatrical. Mitch stood nearby, his stance rigid, his gaze fixed on the hallway like he was daring anyone to intervene. I recorded it all from across the street, my hands steady this time. When the deputies arrived, I stepped forward and handed them the proof. The officers didn't ask many questions, they just told them to leave. I watched their tail lights fade into the darkness, their power over me dissolving with them. Freedom didn't feel like a burst of joy, it felt like breathing for the first time in years without something heavy pressing down on my chest. I am not their phantom anymore. I am Daniel. And I will never live for them again.